There's one aspect to Amazon site building that a lot of affiliates end up overlooking, and that is the usage of images. And to get a little more specific than that, to actually use those images to help you to gain more search engine traffic related to your niche. In this training lesson, I'm going to be talking to you about Google Image SEO in more detail. I first want to give you an overview of Google Image Search in general. Then I'm going to proceed on to talk about the sources of images that you can use. And finally, I want to talk to you about actual SEO with your images. Using all this stuff together can help you to increase the amount of search engine traffic that you're getting to any given website. And ultimately, it does not require an immense amount of work to incorporate images into your site. Now, first of all, why images? I've already been talking about this a little bit. It can help you to bring more traffic to your site. It doesn't require a lot of effort. But on top of that, it's also something that is useful for your website visitors. It helps to break up a standard article. So if you're basically going through each of the pages that you might be building on a website and writing an article for it, incorporating a number of different images throughout that article can help to spice it up a little bit to make it a little more meaningful for your website visitors. This helps you across the board because those images then stretch across to search engine rankings. It can help your normal organic rankings to jump higher. But then there is also a separate realm of search engine traffic that you can actually get just on the images themselves. Now the question is, how do people actually find you, and what kind of a potential are we really talking about for traffic for these images? I want to go to an actual website now, google.com, so I can show you this in person. So first of all, how is putting an image on your website actually going to help people to find you from Google? Now, you obviously have your standard search engine rankings where people search for a topic, say cars, and they have the normal rankings that they can browse through. Sometimes images will show up within those search rankings, and this can help normal organic traffic find their way over to the image search area. However, there's also the images right up at the top here where you can just click over to any of these tabs and see different topics relating to whatever it is that you have searched about. So clicking on images, I then get to this images page. When I click on any given image here, I then have options to view the image, which is going to take me to a full-size screen of just the image, or I can actually visit the page containing this image. Now, the average person that's viewing this will not end up visiting the page of every single image, or maybe even of the image that they are looking at. However, this does end up bringing some people to your website, and the people that it does bring, they are interested in your topic and what your niche is ultimately about. So in order to take advantage of this, you need to be able to create meaningful images that are actually going to catch people's attention and ultimately make them want to go and visit through to your website to find out more. Now, as far as the potential for traffic for these images, I wanted to show you an existing Amazon website of mine that is doing good in the normal organic rankings. However, I really haven't done much in terms of making anything special for the images that are on this website, or really even trying to optimize them for different kinds of search phrases. So for my standard traffic, my site showing up in the organic rankings is getting 20,000 impressions, and I'm getting about 1,200 clicks off of that. Not too bad. However, if I flip over to view my image rankings, I can see that I'm getting some exposure and a few clicks, but ultimately I'm really not getting the amount of exposure from this that I possibly could be. Considering the number of impressions that was showing up on my web searches and the number of clicks that I was getting off of that, if I could just get a fraction of those clicks in terms of the click-through percentage off of these images, and also increase the total number of impressions by actually putting out optimized images on this website, these numbers would both increase very drastically. So the important thing is ultimately the image. And that's why next I want to be talking to you about where you can actually get images from, and more importantly than that, how these images can ultimately affect the kind of results that you might see by putting them on your website. Now, you obviously have the standard kind of stuff where you could go to the Amazon website, whatever product you're promoting, you could pick up an image off of Amazon for it and upload that image to your site and place it within one of your pages. You could also do the same kind of thing with Google, where you simply go out there on Google, just like I was showing you before, and you go to the image search and you find images that are already out there and you reuse them on your site. You download them and then you upload them onto your website ultimately. Let me show you one thing about that real quick. When you are going for those types of images, if this is as far as you want to take it, if you click on this little gear up here, this is for the settings, and you go to advanced search, you have different usage rights that show up for these images. If you look for things that are free to use, share, or modify, even commercially, the option all the way down at the bottom of this drop-down box, and change your search that way, any of the images that show up here, you can download them and even take them into different kinds of graphics software to modify them to make them your own unique image and reuse them on your site without worrying about copyrights or anything of that nature. So getting images off of Amazon and Google is obviously pretty simple and straightforward. You just go to a website, you download an image. However, the usefulness of those images is really more centered around your visitors than it is for getting more search engine traffic. Yes, having some duplicated images like that can help your normal organic search rankings. However, Google is pretty good about picking out duplicate images to show up in their image search, and they will oftentimes not rank the same image from two different websites within their image search, at least. So with that said, if you're getting an image that already exists out there on the internet and is definitely going to be indexed by Google, the best results that you can possibly get from it would be by modifying that image in some way. And this is something I'll talk about in a little more detail here when I get down to Photoshop and graphics software. But just as they are, if you're not going to be modifying them, you just want to download them and reuse them, at the very, very least, change the file name and name it something descriptive based on what the image is, and also try to include some kind of a targeted keyword phrase in there in that file name. At the very least, this can give you some kind of a benefit for search rankings along the way, whether it's with image search or with your standard organic rankings. Now, the best kind of images that you could possibly put on your website are going to be images that are original. Images that you actually take or other people take that are not already going to exist on the internet, to where when you upload them on your website, you would be the very first person out there on the internet to have that. And then when Google picks up your image, it would be able to identify it as being unique. So it's not duplicating something else. That gives you the best opportunity of getting these search rankings all around. Now the question is, how can you go about getting those images? A lot of times you might be wanting to get images of products. However, don't always limit yourself to just products. If you are, say, trying to promote a football on Amazon that's for sale, you don't have to just show pictures of a football product. You could be showing people playing football. It could be an image. You could even go as far as to make videos. You could show people dressed up in football gear. You could show a football stadium. You could show different kinds of equipment used by football players. You can go outside of what your products actually are, as long as you're still staying within a relative niche, to where all of your images are still about a subject matter that you're trying to target. This is how you really get some of the best pictures that work with your website, help your visitors out, and also help you in terms of the search rankings. But since a lot of people do product review pages, and sometimes exclusively will focus on product review pages, I specifically wanted to talk about product images for a couple of minutes. Sometimes products are cheap. You might be able to readily buy everything that you're promoting on a given Amazon site and take pictures yourself. However, you might also be promoting some higher dollar valued products, where in order to buy everything that you're promoting on a given website, it might cost you thousands of dollars potentially, and that's just really not going to be realistic unless you are putting a very heavy amount of focus into that particular website, and even doing some other things with those products, creating videos and things of that nature with them. But for the average person that's just wanting to create a fairly quick website and move on to the next one, they want to have other sources of getting these product pictures and having them being unique, but also not having to actually buy the product themselves. Now, you can use the products that you already own. If you happen to have one of these products already, that's great. Take some pictures of them. Find some friends or family members of yours that own the product and take a picture of theirs. You can also get a little sneakier with it, especially if it's a higher dollar value product that might be on display at certain retail stores. You can simply visit those retail stores and take a picture with your smartphone. There's really nothing out of the ordinary with this in this day and age. I commonly do this to be able to show something to my wife back home who might just not be there in the store with me. Now, any of these pictures that you're getting, especially ones that might not be original, you can take it a step further and load it up into some kind of software, such as Photoshop. But there's also all kinds of different marketing software applications out there, such as something like Moonpixel, where you can take an image in, modify it, add text around it or on top of it, and make it into a picture that is completely unique. So doing something like that can be a really great way to take an image that you got off of Amazon or Google to modify it for your own purposes. But it can also be a great way to take some of these original photos of yours and make them more informative. You could do something like make an infographic off of it, whether it's a really long detailed one or a simple picture of a product along with some basic information to go along with that product sitting out beside it. Creative stuff like this can often go a long way in helping to induce the clicks off of Google image search, especially for topics relating to different kinds of Amazon niches and ultimately getting people on there that would end up buying the products that you are promoting. Now, another option is to use outsourcing. There's a couple different ways that you could go about this. One, and is kind of the easiest way, but also could be the more expensive way, would be to find people out there that already own the product that you're trying to promote, or could take a product of or a picture of whatever it is that you're wanting to get a picture of, and then allow you to use that picture and keep it as your original picture to where it wouldn't be reused elsewhere. You can find people on Craigslist, for example, fairly easily for this type of stuff. You would not necessarily even have to meet them in person, although a lot of times the whole stipulation about Craigslist, if you start offering to do something and even refusing to meet them in person, they might not believe you're actually real, or they might not believe that you would follow through with paying them. However, there are plenty of other places where you could go to try to find people that will do this kind of work. There are outsourcing websites such as freelancer.com, where you could go and actually try to hire a photographer to provide different pictures. You could even go for a more amateurish photographer, so it wouldn't cost you as much money. You could also try to simply find people that own the product already, if you wanted a picture of a product, for example, on Craigslist, and then use your own camera or cell phone and take a picture of it, to where you basically just say, hey, I'm just looking for someone who owns this specific product. Say, I want somebody who owns an Xbox One, and I just want to take a picture of it. Maybe a picture of a couple of the games and controllers and, relational things like that you have. And then you just go to their house and snap a couple of quick pictures, pay them, you could probably get away with paying like $5-10 no problem for something like that, especially if you were going to get a whole bunch of pictures out of the deal. And it would be really, really simple and allow you to get some great content without having to invest a lot of money into actually buying all that stuff for yourself. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting these actual photos, depending on what your situation is, what pictures you're actually trying to get. You may need to kind of mix and match or even get creative with your own ideas for different ways to come about acquiring these pictures for yourself. However, do keep legalities in mind. I do strongly urge you to not stray into copyright territory. Don't use, for example, images off of Google and modify them that aren't tagged for that kind of use. I also really wouldn't modify images that are coming off of Amazon. At the very, very least, you can take these images, change the file name, upload them onto your own website, and use them for a direct product promotion on that product on Amazon. That's really kind of the extent that I would recommend using the Amazon pictures for. So do try to stay safe as far as what you're using and how you're using it. And beyond that, try to provide useful, unique images whenever possible. Now, in terms of taking these images and loading them up on your website so you actually benefit from some increased search engine exposure and traffic as a result, I want to talk to you about actual image SEO in a little more detail here. Now, I can't tell you exactly how Google is ranking images. They don't publish their algorithms. And so you kind of have to look at what is going on Google to really be able to get some kind of a vague idea of what they're expecting and what they're wanting to find. You can then reverse engineer this information to help yourself out, to figure out what you should be doing with certain images on various pages of your website. This also helps you with doing things on Google long term. Something that you're doing today on Google isn't guaranteed to work a month from now or a year from now, especially 5-10 years from now. So if things ever change from how they are now and you're not getting great results off of your images down the road, once you have put in things into place and you start getting the traffic, you can always revisit Google in the future and just analyze what's currently going on in their search rankings to figure out what you should be doing on your website. And so I want to actually show this kind of thing to you in a little more detail, just to point out some of the things you should be paying attention to. Now, for any given search term, when you go and look at the Google images and you hover over one of the images, you see in the bottom left-hand corner here the dimensions of the image and then the website that the image is found on. As you progress through a number of the images, you can typically see some kind of a trend going on as far as the sizes of the images. For the most part, you won't typically find a really low resolution image ranking really high up, unless that's what the people are searching for. If somebody was searching for something like an icon, then they're going to find the small resolution images. Otherwise, a lot of times they're going to end up finding the more high def type of images, something like 1920 by 1080. And some of these go a lot smaller, 1000 by 600. They don't all have to be high def. But the simple point here is that overall, Google does seem to give a little more weight to a high def image over a lower quality one. Now, when you click on an actual image and expand it, you can visit the website that that image is found on. I recommend doing this when you are trying to reverse engineer something like this. Here's this particular car and the website that it is found on. When you go and visit the website, there are a number of different things that you're ultimately looking for. One of those things is the image URL. You want to know what they have named the image. So I can see right here, this is the name of this image. It has some random numbers in it. It has Frankfurt Motor Show, concept cars for Super 169.jpg. When I search for the term cars, ultimately I'm looking to try to figure out where this keyword that I'm going after is appearing. I'm also looking for a little more information beyond that, though. I want to look for words that relate to what I'm searching for. So obviously the word cars is found here in the URL of that image. However, there are also other words, motor, for example, or getting a little more specific, even motor show, or even Frankfurt Motor Show. I guarantee Google can relate all of those phrases to the term cars. Other things such as super are likely related to the term cars, and maybe even concept has a strong relation to the term cars. So a large majority of the words that I have showing up here can have a strong correlation to what my actual search topic is about. When I look on the page, I'm seeing this same type of thing. In terms of, let me refresh this page real quick so you can see the URL. The URL itself of the page, this one has Frankfurt Motor Show concept cars. So I have the same kind of thing going on that I had going with my image URL. But then when I look at the title of the page and the title at the top of my page and the content here, and even other content that is found on that same page, content nearby my image, and even content that is elsewhere on that same page, I'm seeing the same type of themes reflected, the same kind of stuff you're going for with normal search engine optimization in terms of trying to write content that is not just repeating a keyword phrase, but it's actually talking about that subject matter. That's ultimately what Google is looking for in terms of images, at least as far as I've ever been able to tell and figure out from usage on my own websites too. It's a fairly reliable approach, and it's also a reliable approach into the future as well, because there's a pretty good chance that Google will always be looking for this type of thing and constantly improving their technology that can ultimately tell the difference between something that's fake and generated by a computer and something that you've actually written out yourself that has meaningful content within it. So when you are adding in images to your own website, you want to be looking at this same type of stuff. For example, this particular page on this website is the same website I was showing you back here a little while ago with my search traffic. A couple of the few image rankings that actually are showing up on the site are images that I did take the time to do a minor amount of optimization for. However, they are not unique images. I simply found them elsewhere and renamed them something appropriate and put them up onto my website. However, I could definitely be getting much more traffic off of this particular subject matter and relational subjects by having my own unique images on there. However, in terms of optimizing this site for relational search terms for Google image search. The title of my page, mattress sizes, is found in there. The URL, sizes. Ultimately, the image that I have put into my page is called mattress-sizes.jpg. So I was using that image to help reinforce the subject matter of my overall page to help improve organic search rankings, in addition to this potentially bringing me some Google image rankings on top of it. Now, on top of just having an image with a particular file name that relates to a keyword phrase, you also want to go beyond that by having the title of your page, the URL of your page, and even content that is nearby to your image, or even on the whole page, being something that relates to what your image is about. This is going to strongly increase the odds that you'll be able to rank for certain types of keyword phrases for it. Now, when it comes to putting these images on your site yourself, you obviously do this through the Add Media button, something you are likely already familiar with, where you just simply go and upload files, or you can choose from your media library, which is images that you've already uploaded. So I could go and select this image, which is my mattress sizes image here. The important part, though, is that you don't just stop there. There is other information over here that WordPress is looking for. And the more information you can provide here that includes relational content and especially a keyword phrase that you might be trying to target, this will go a long way to help you to get search rankings for those phrases. The title box and the alt text box are the two that I recommend using the most. You don't just want to be repeating a keyword phrase, such as mattress sizes. You want to get more descriptive to talk about some other relational phrases. For example, I used the term bed here in this same sentence. For my title, initially, it's probably going to be set as the file name URL. You can leave it that way if you have provided a descriptive file name. However, you can go and do something similar to what you've done with the alt text and basically describe what the image is about. Use more relational words that go along with whatever keyword phrase it is you're trying to target. Then you insert your images into the page. Using things like a caption to go along with your image can be really helpful, especially if you're not really going to have much content within the article on that page that actually is about this subject. Adding in a caption that is a sentence or 2 sentences long that talk about this particular image can help to give you search rankings relating to these phrases, especially if they're not the exact same phrases that you might be going after on the overall page as a whole. If you can't utilize your normal content in your page, those captions, again, can help you to target. But otherwise, I do recommend sticking to using this surrounding content to help to reinforce what your image is actually about. If you look at the sentence immediately before and also immediately after my image right here, you can see that both of these sentences are talking about the same subject that my image is referring to, and ultimately that my image is named after, mattress sizes. I even have that exact phrase, or very close to it, a variation of that phrase, found in both of those sentences. However, it's not required that you're repeating that phrase constantly. What is important is that you're talking about that subject. I'm using other words that are not found in my keyword phrase, but I know Google can relate to that subject. For example, for mattress sizes, I talk about the different kinds of mattresses. I actually name a number of those different types of mattresses here. This way, Google can see that I'm talking about this subject that I'm ultimately trying to target here. So this is how you go about using these images to actually help you to get search rankings for them. The more descriptive content, the more descriptive file names and alt text and title text that you can be providing, the better off you're going to be in terms of both your Google image rankings and also the organic search rankings that you can get on that page as a whole.